Hi, everybody. Welcome to Discover College Soccer. I am lucky enough today to be joined by Coach Sam Tracey from Grand Valley State. Welcome, Coach.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Yeah, thank you. It's a fun time here in Philadelphia at the United Soccer Coaches Convention. Have you seen anything enjoyable yet?
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's just a huge networking opportunity here. So many coaches of such high caliber in the same building. It's been incredible so far. It's my first one as a coach, so I'm super excited.
Yeah, it's the first one I've been to probably in the last 5 or 6 years, but it's always good to come to these because you get to see a lot of people that you haven't seen in a while and meet people who will be lifelong friends, and it really is a great event. Well, let's talk about Grand Valley a bit. You new coaching staff arrived this summer, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We were coming into the program. They had just won a national championship last year. So, and obviously Grand Valley State has a tradition of winning championships, tradition of excellence in every sport, not just women's soccer. But ultimately we came in super excited, and the girls were excited too, super hungry team. So yeah, we really, really enjoyed our first fall, and now looking ahead at the developmental period for this team, just again, super excited to finish our full first year together.
Yeah, it's always nerves a bit coming in as a new coaching staff, especially when you're held to a high bar like you are at Grand Valley. So let's talk a little bit about the recruiting side. You know, it's showcase season everywhere, as I think a ton of people flew directly from the ECNL Florida event. They were on my flight from Tampa into Philly for this thing, but have you guys closed up your 23 class, or have you moved on to 24s? What does that look like for you guys?
Yeah, so I think the fun thing about recruiting is it's never really done. It's never really wrapped. But yes, we've pretty much buttoned up our 23s. But obviously, like I said, you know, there's always the stray one or two that you get at the end, right? But definitely working on our 2024 class. We had our other assistant coach, Mario, was in Florida working that event. Katie was at a field in Brighton a couple days ago. So the recruiting side is just never really done. It's always a good grind to have, and just trying to be present on the field with the girls has been always really fun for us.
Now, you mentioned ECNL down in Florida. Are there other kind of must-hit events for you guys, the ones that you need to make sure that you're at every year? And is it more regional? Is it more national? What does it look like for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, obviously any ECNL or GA event that we can get to is huge, but for us, we do like to look local as well. There's different combines for different clubs that are always excellent, right? You have the Hawks Combine, you have different Jags events, you have different Midwest United is right in our backyard. We often go there. So I think we try to have a mix of those regional events, but also the super common GA, ECNL type events.
What about camps? Do you guys have your own camps? Do you and the rest of your staff work, other camps? What do camps look like for your recruiting?
Oh, absolutely. We take our ID camps super seriously. We have so many camps. We also have tournaments for different local teams if they want to come into the area, and we'll watch those as well. But yeah, we go out into different camps. I know I spent last summer around the state, going to different Legends camps, different Jags camps. So yeah, we're super invested in the camp side, and it's good to get a face to a name of the different recruits that we're talking to.
Now, whether it's at a camp or at a tournament or anything else, what kind of makes up the hierarchy of things that you guys are looking for in a player that, I mean, again, you guys are a national championship caliber program. What is it that makes somebody stand out as to somebody that you guys want to bring to Michigan?
Sure. I think ultimately you're always looking for a player and a person, right? And you can really tell right away when you talk with players or see them with their team, the kind of person and leader that they are. Ultimately, when you bring a player into a championship program, you're looking for the whole package of someone who can compete at the highest level. But also, obviously, somebody that stands out on the field, that is a good communicator, that has good field awareness, and speed of play is always huge. Obviously, the biggest step from the high school to college game is that speed of play. So if they have it right away, that sticks out for us for sure. Absolutely.
That is a drum I've beaten for years and years. The biggest difference each level just is speed of play.
Yeah.
In terms of, since you guys are Division II school and official visits versus unofficial visits? It's a big question we always get. Kind of what's that look like to you? Do you guys do a lot of official visits for recruits, or is most things unofficial, or what does that look like at Grand Valley?
Yeah, I think, you have to meet the players' needs as well. Obviously, different official and unofficial visits, they only have a certain number of those. So we try to cater to what the player needs. Ultimately, we do a really fair mix of both types of visits and just having girls on campus. Obviously, it's super important to get them there just to see it and feel it, because it's just an environment that you can't see, you have to see in person. So
Yeah. Well, one of the big things to happen to college soccer recently is the transfer portal. So is that something you guys look at all during your recruiting, or not so much?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think you'd be silly not to at least give it a look. There's obviously really good players in there. But yeah, we definitely look there, but we also look at the players that are incoming. I think it's just, you got to give those players in the portal a fair shot as well.
Now, Division II on the men's side tends to be fairly heavy international.
Yeah.
Does that come into play for you guys at all on the international stage?
I haven't seen it yet. So my background playing is in the NAIA, where there's so many international players on the women's side and on the men's side. But from my experience in D2 so far, I haven't seen it as much. But that's not to say that it doesn't exist. Obviously, I've only been in Division II for 6 months-ish now. But yeah, definitely you can see it on the men's side a ton, especially in the top talent.
Yeah. Well, on the specific to Grand Valley side of things, as a parent with a player in a few years headed to college, one of the big question marks is always around, okay, what's this going to cost me? So now, I'm not going to hold you to any hard numbers here, but can you just give me a rough overview of, what does it look like to attend Grand Valley from a financial standpoint? What is the average maybe mix of athletic money and academic money, and do you guys stack? And what does that all kind of look like at Grand Valley?
Yeah, well, especially coming from my NAI background, I think a lot of those smaller Christian schools are more expensive from what I can tell. For us, it's really not that bad. We have a good mix of the academic and athletic that usually makes it fairly reasonable. But definitely Grand Valley is one of the places where it has a very diverse student body just because it is not that expensive to go there. So I would say, you're looking in the ballpark of something very reasonable when Grand Valley, when you talk about that. Obviously, though, that's coming from my background of visiting. I'm a 5'1" goalkeeper, so I only visited schools that were $60K and more. You know what I mean? Because that's just how those small Christian schools go at times.
Yeah. There's definitely a certain mix of small schools, whether they're NAIA Division III, that have maybe higher price tags than most. But well, you've been there 6 months now, so give me the things that you've found out about Grand Valley that are surprising, or things that are awesome that you really like that you didn't know and that folks maybe not learn just by visiting the website.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, what people might not know is the campus is gorgeous. The buildings that we have, and it's just a really good environment. Walking, between classes, I see students all the time that are just kind of all mingling about by the clock tower. It's just a really good environment and a good place. And I think something that they might not know until you get there is the environment around the athletics is just so good. The school really supports its athletic programs. The field spaces that we have are amazing, just for a women's soccer program to have that access to multiple turf fields, multiple grass fields, and then obviously we have an amazing football program. Our volleyball team's good. Our basketball teams are good. So it's just it's something that you almost have to feel when you get on campus, just like the air of athletic, driven people. So it's really, just the environment, the people that are there, it just makes it fun to be around.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, unfortunately or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, going to college is not just playing soccer. So on the academic side, how do your student athletes really balance those commitments between the sport and school, and what kind of support mechanisms does Grand Valley offer to help the players with that?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've heard our players talk a lot about the connections between the athletic programs and the academic programs, and there's so many resources that they have. They go to their study tables, but they also have one staff member completely dedicated to making sure that they are getting everything they need out of their education, and I think that that's unique to the athletic programs at Grand Valley. Not every student has that, so the lady that does our work, Maisha, she's amazing. She's so connected with the team. She comes to the events in preseason when school's not even in session, but they have somebody super dedicated to making sure that they can get through their coursework and balance it all. But yeah, our student athletes are super dedicated to their education. They just had a team GPA of like 3.4, so they had a great semester this year, so looking forward to seeing them grow in that area. They love it.
No, that's great. Well, can you walk me through what a typical week during the season would look like for your players in terms of, when are the meals, when are classes, practice, if you're traveling for games, kind of what your game cadence, what does a normal week look like? Sure.
So Monday is our off day. So then we'll get back on Tuesday right at it. We have the same practice slot every day, start at 1:30. But re-entry day usually is simple. We just play. And that's Tuesdays. Wednesday is our teaching day, so we'll somewhat address what our next opponent will look like and what we want to do against them. And that's Wednesday, so that's a meaty practice. That usually ends up taking a lot of time. And then Thursday is the game day -1, so we're often preparing for the next opponent, but ultimately just getting jazzed and ready to go. And then we play Friday and Sunday, so we end up usually practicing Saturday morning after our Friday night games. Just again, another day where we're just kind of playing. Some of the players that didn't get a lot of minutes get a lot of time to kick the ball around. So, but yeah, we have a really good rhythm in the fall. It ends up being really nice for the players because they end up getting a whole day away from us, which they need. But yeah, it's good. It was a really good first fall for me, especially coming from a completely different playing background.
Okay. Well, let's talk more about the team itself then. Is there, in this recruiting cycle that you're in right now, is there a specific target roster size that you guys are trying to hit or that you guys find is ideal?
Yeah, well, we definitely want to respect our players and respect their time. If they commit to coming to Grand Valley, we want to give them a roster size that's reasonable to make sure that they have a good experience. We're super committed to that, to the point where we're getting a brand new locker room and only getting a certain amount of lockers because we just refuse to get our roster size over that. We're aiming towards around 30, so 30, 31, 32 at the very most. But yeah, like I said, we're building a brand new locker room and refuse to get any more lockers than that, just to respect the players that are incoming and the players that are there.
No, I think that's awesome. Now, obviously, you are the goalkeeper coach for the program, so there is staff. Sometimes the smaller Division IIs, it might only be the head coach. At least that's the way it was when I was coaching. But what does the overall staff look like at Grand Valley?
Yeah, so our staff specifically has Katie Holteen as the head coach. She was the associate head coach at Michigan for many years and then came over to us. So she's brings a breadth of experience. And then we have Mario Zuniga-Gill. He's our full-time assistant coach. He is, again, so knowledgeable. I mean, he brings his UEFA A license experience. I mean, he's such a brilliant guy. And then I'm the assistant coach for goalkeeper, so the goalkeeper coach. And then we have a director of operations, Taylor Timko. She's from Michigan as well. She did the director of ops stuff for them as well. And she works a ton on the team culture aspect and making sure that we get from point A to point B. Without her, the program wouldn't run. So she's an integral part of our staff. But there's really 4 of us that we get after it. We also have a volunteer assistant who's around sometimes, Annette Stromberg, who was on staff last year. So she kind of bridges that gap for us between the team in the past years and the team now. So she's a huge resource for us in that way.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, how would you describe kind of your staff style of coaching and the team style of play?
Yeah, I think our philosophy is very much so building from the back, possession-based. But ultimately, we want to score goals. We want to score a lot of goals. So that's kind of our focus attacking-wise. Defensive-wise, just forcing them around us, not through us. Being super stingy. We want to be a stingy team. Definitely, that's one of our goals in the spring, is just to become more stingy defensively, making it really hard for the team to get down our throat, down at the middle of the field. But ultimately that's kind of our philosophy. Coaching-wise, just making sure the players feel valued and accepted, because at the end of the day, you can teach them all the technical and tactical skills that you want, but if they're not valued and appreciated, then they're not going to be at their best. So our philosophy is way more culture-based right now than anything.
No, I think it's a great way to look at it. Well, we're here in January, so it's officially off season. So what is your spring and the off season going to look like for your players?
Yeah, we're gonna hit the ground running next week. We have MLK Day on Monday, and then Tuesday we're right after it. The girls are really, really excited to attack the spring and really grow and develop as a group. I think the fall went well, but we know we're hungry for more as a coaching staff and as a group. So we're going to be going really, really after it right away. We have sessions 3 days a week, really good heavy lifting that we're going to do as well, just to get the girls strong and hopefully prevent any injuries that we might incur in the fall. But yeah, the girls are really, really excited and pumped to get into it next week, so we're really excited.
Awesome. Well, here at the convention, if you've walked the exhibit floor like I did last night, it seems like half the booths are about some sort of technology, whether that's cameras, GPS trackers, analytics platforms, whatever the case may be. Do you guys use any of that kind of stuff? And if so, how?
Yeah, I think in this day and age in the modern game, it's something that you have to have. Yeah, we use Beyond Pulse trackers to track data of the load on our players. We don't want to overload or underload them. We'll track, if a player cramps in a game, did we overload her or underload her this week? And how did that work? We meet with sports psychologists on campus all the time to discuss those types of things as well. But anyway, we have obviously all the video systems, VO, huddle assist, all of those things that really benefit us in analyzing the game. We're super interested in statistics because we want the data to back up our philosophy. So ultimately, if the data is not backing up your philosophy, then something's wrong. So we heavily utilize statistics and the video to back up what we're saying to our players, because if we can't have video to back it up, then what we're saying might not be true.
Okay, all right. It's a good way to look at it. Well, I always like to end these interviews the same way. We've covered a lot of ground. We've talked about a lot of things, but what didn't we talk about? What is it that you may want folks to know, whether it's about the college recruiting process, the school itself, college soccer in general? The floor is yours.
Yeah, I think when it comes to the recruiting process, what I tell recruits all the time is that you want to pick a program where you're going to love it, regardless of if you play or not, regardless of if you get injured and you can't play anymore. You want to pick that school and pick that program that's invested in you as a human being, rather than just a soccer player. I know you said your daughter is getting into that process, but that's what I always tell recruits. Ultimately, in your process, you want to pick a school that has that family to surround you, and not just saying it, but they have to mean it. So the players are the ultimate truth tellers. When you get them by themselves, I would ask them to be frank with you, because you're picking the place that's going to be your new home, and you're picking the people that are going to invest in you and change your life. So that's what I tell recruits all the time. And so if there's any recruits or parents listening, definitely lean into the visits that you have and lean into those players, because they'll tell you how it really is and give you the best advice.
Couldn't agree more. Couldn't have said it better. Sam, thank you so much. Happy to have you here. Enjoy the rest of the convention, and best of luck with the off season and next fall.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you.